The plants are autotrophic organisms. It means that they can make their own food. And they are capable of making their food with the help of inorganic substances like water and solar radiation. And these inorganic substances, after the process of photosynthesis, give organic substance, that is glucose. So this conversion requires water and minerals along with chlorophyll, which is already present in the plants. So if we think about the requirement from outside, it is the solar radiation, which everyone is getting uniformly by the sun, whereas there is the second requirement of water and minerals, which can be taken up from the soil in which the roots of the plants are already placed. So the plants, they have various physiological processes going on within them, and with all these physiological activities, they are capable of taking up minerals and water from the soil. The minerals from the soil cannot be taken up as such in solid form by the roots, so these minerals need to be dissolved in water in order before getting taken up by the roots. So water is playing a very essential role in this process. Generally we say that water is a universal solvent, and we will be discussing in details about the various physiological processes or activities which help in the process of transportation of various substances inside the plants from outside, as well as the food which is formed in the plants is also transported, I should say translocated, from the site which is the leaf where chlorophyll is present to the different places where it is required. So everywhere there is importance of water. We will be at first looking in details about the importance of water. The very first point is water is an essential and major constituent of protoplasm. Now, what is protoplasm? Protoplasm is the liquid which is present other than the, or I should rather say, it is the entire liquid content of the cell. The liquid content of the cell makes the cell bulky, as well as it makes each and every structure functional in the best possible way. If you think about the plant cells, they have presence of vacuoles. Vacuoles are filled with water and some amount of inorganic substances like the minerals and all. And what is the function of vacuoles? It maintains the turgidity of the cells. Similarly, the first factor or first presence of water is there in the entire cytoplasm or the protoplasm of the cell. When I say protoplasm, it consists of both the parts, that is the nucleoplasm as well as the cytoplasm. The various substances which are to be distributed inside the cell, they require the presence of water. Water acts as a universal solvent in this case. Why a universal solvent? Because it is helping in the process of dissolution of various substances and movement of those substances from one cell to another. And how is this dissolution taking place? It is taking place, or where is the dissolution taking place? It is taking place inside, or it is taking place in water only. So water is a medium. It is also known as universal solvent. Water is essential for all the chemical activities which are taking place inside the organism. In photosynthesis also, if you remember the process, water molecules are broken down to form hydronium ions and hydroxide ions. Hydronium ions play a very important role in the uh, process of reduction of NADP to NADPH. So in that way as well, water is very important in the process of photosynthesis. And the entire process or all the physiological processes, they require enzymatic activity to take place. All the enzymes, they are only functional when there is presence of some solvent or some medium. This medium is always water. Various breakdown of chemical substances, they also occur in presence of water. Germination of any seed, the initial process is putting the seed inside water, soaked inside water for a night, overnight, so that the outer seed coat, it bursts open itself. And even if we put the same seed in water for 1 or 2 more days and then wrap it inside a cloth, then the germination process initiates. This germination process requires presence of high temperature as well as water. Water is a very essential requirement for the germination to take place. You can distinguish and think about it if you can imagine an example. Normally, when a seed I am talking about gram seed. When a gram seed is put inside a bottle in your house, it is not germinating. But if you take out those gram seeds and put it in water for overnight, and sow them inside the soil, within 7 to 8 days, you will see that the seed has started germinating. But the same seed which is kept inside the bottle in absence of water or in a dry condition, the seed is not growing. So what we can understand, it is the water which is very important and what is required for the process of germination. Most of the metabolic activities like the temperature, the inner temperature of the plant is maintained with the help of water. Water acts as a coolant, we all are aware. The atmospheric, because of transpiration, the tree itself cools down the temperature inside itself and provides a cool pleasant environment to the nearby area. Imagine a tree at a particular place and it's a bright sunny day. If you go beneath the tree, there is a cooling effect. That cooling effect is because of transpiration and maintenance of temperature, and that is taking place because of the plants. There is requirement of water in every cell, and vacuoles are the best example. I have already said about it. Vacuoles, they have the in the plant cells, they are occupying the maximum amount of area, and that area or the vacuole has outer covering known as tonoplast. Inside it is filling of some amount of minerals as well as water. Water is very important, and water is providing turgidity. What is turgidity? It is the toughness or the rigidity to the structure of the cell. So it has in maintenance of the structure of a cell. All the enzymatic activities, they are only possible in presence of water because it acts as a hydrating medium. The plants the plants, they also require minerals, right, for most of the activities, and even as such for maintenance of chlorophyll structures. Magnesium ions are required for various physiological processes. Iron, manganese and other macro and micronutrients are required. So in order to fulfill all those necessities, there is requirement of minerals. These minerals cannot enter the root hair cells as such from the soil. They require a medium for movement. That medium is provided with the help of, again, water. So water is helping in dissolution of various substances which are required by the plants, and the the root hairs, along with the water, they are absorbing those substances as well. If we can remember about the lower plants like the fungi or the bryophytes, over there the gametes, they require presence of water medium. Antherozoids as well as the archegonium, they require the presence of water for the movement. The antherozoids, they can move only in presence of water, and then the fertilization can take place in the archegonium for production of spores. Even the dehiscence of spores, they also require water. If you remember the structure of fungal spores, the spores, when water used to fall on the spores, the sporangium, I should rather say, on the sporangium, it used to cause the dehiscence of the sporangi. This used to be the structure of sporangium. Inside it, there used to be presence of various pores, and as soon as water droplet used to fall on it, there used to be a blast in the outer capsule of the sporangium, and as a result, the release of the spores outside the sporangium used to take place. So this was a common way of dispersal this is a common way of dispersal in case of lower organisms. Next and the last point is regarding pollination. In the process of pollination, water is helpful because um, at times, if you think about any kind of floral anthers, they are generally stick to the flies and birds and flies, birds, and any kind of pollinators. So one particular type of plant spores are attached to it. I should say anthers are attached to it. Now, when pollen grains are attached, rather, So when this like small insect is moving from one place to another, or pollinating one flower to another, every time same anthers are getting, or pollen grains are getting used. When there is water or rainfall, at that time the pollen grains which are attached on the insect's body, they fall off, or they get cleared off. As a result, new pollen grains can get attached, and the process of pollination can again get reinitiated. So it is playing a very essential role. These are some of the important roles of water, which are essential for the survival of a plant or for various processes in the plant. We will be looking into details about the physiological processes which also require the presence of water at certain times. First is first and foremost, we should know about the kind of relationship a plant has with water. Any kind of diffusion process, it is acting like a universal solvent. It is present in the entire cell. Almost 95% of the cellular content is water. So in that way also it is present. The entire protoplasm has high amount of water within it. Vacuole is having water. Even the most of the cytoplasm is also containing water. So water is present almost everywhere inside a plant, and in the life cycle of a plant, water is playing a very important and um, significant role, because every process is taking place by the process of, like, two important processes. One is photosynthesis, next is transpiration. Both of them, they require presence of water, and water is present, or water is presented to the plants with the help of roots by the process of absorption. So for performing both these functions, the plant is requiring the water molecules. So water is playing a very significant role in this process. If we think about the kind of processes which occur inside a plant, or which particular physiological process we are going to discuss, this will be on the head, with the help of, or with a heading which means that means of transport of water molecules. We will be discussing that. So first process is diffusion. What is diffusion? It is a movement of molecules of gases, liquids, and even solutes from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. This is something which you have studied several times. Now there is another one more definition where we discuss that the diffusion in terms of net movement of molecules or ions from one substance, or from one region to another region, and this movement is taking place on the basis, or on the verge of kinetic energy. So let me just give you all a simple idea. Suppose these are two cells. Okay, first cell is having one, two, three, four, five number of water molecules. Second one is having one, two, three, four number of water molecules. Here in the first box we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, 10 number of solutes. Suppose it is sugar. Okay, sorry. And in the second one we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 8 number of solute. 8 solute, here 10 solute. Here we have 5. This is water molecule. Here we have 5 water molecule, here we have 4 water molecule. Always the movement will take place from higher concentration of water to lower concentration of water. So here the gradient is already decided. Higher concentration is here in this block, and movement will take place from higher concentration to the lower concentration. So this is the way of movement, how it is taking place, right? So what are the various examples of the process of diffusion? We'll discuss into details about them. Now, one more thing is very important over here. This phenomena of diffusion can be understood if you think about a beaker and put a drop of ink within it. After some time, you will see that it is evenly distributed in the entire water, and water has changed its color from transparent to some color like blue color, or some color has been gained by the water. So this is a process of diffusion. Always the movement is from higher concentration to lower concentration with respect to kinetic energy, and this movement of molecules from higher diffusion pressure to lower diffusion pressure marks the rate of diffusion or the method of diffusion. Okay, there are various factors which also influence the process or the rate of diffusion. First is the diffusion pressure gradient, which is a very important thing. It means that a gradient must be present for diffusion to occur. It means greater the diffusion pressure gradient, from more will be the rate of diffusion, and more rapidly the rate of diffusion will increase. More the pressure, higher is the rate of diffusion. Just in simple terms, if I want to say, higher pressure, high pressure is equivalent to more diffusion. Next is size of substances. Smaller the size, faster is the rate of movement. This is something which we are already aware of. So I should write small size, high rate of high diffusion, or quick diffusion. High or quick, I should write. I'll just write quick. High or quick diffusion. Last one is solubility of substances. Again, the substances are generally soluble in lipids, and for them only, the substances which are actually soluble in lipids, over there only uh, we can expect that the movement will be much faster, because the cell wall is made up of lipid bilayer, so lipid substances will move much faster as compared to water substances or water containing substances inside a cell. So always remember solubility of lipids. When it states that, it means that if a substance is soluble in lipid, then it will be moving much faster, fast movement, if it is soluble in lipid. So this is about the factors which are influencing rate of diffusion. First is diffusion pressure gradient. Higher the pressure gradient, more will be the rate of diffusion. Size of substances, smaller the size, quicker is the rate of diffusion. Solubility of lipids, as the cell is made up of lipid bilayer, so the movement is fast in case of substances which are made up of lipids. Next is importance of diffusion. We are already aware about most of it. First is the gaseous exchange in case of photosynthesis. If you think about the process of photosynthesis, what is the most important thing which is required? That is carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide enters inside the stomata only when oxygen is removed out. So during the process of gaseous exchange, how is the gaseous exchange taking place? Carbon dioxide is moving out, sorry, carbon dioxide is moving in and oxygen is going out. So this is exchange which is taking place, and it is taking place with the help of diffusion pressure only, because higher is the concentration of oxygen inside the leaf, so it has to move out, and lower is the concentration of carbon dioxide inside the leaf, so carbon dioxide has to move inside. So it is diffusion. Transpiration is required for the process to take place, or for the process of diffusion, because if you remember, these air spaces are the sites over where there is presence of xylem and phloem as well. So through xylem, one droplet of water is released at this site, and it diffuses throughout the surface, and once it's evenly distributed, then only it gets converted from water droplet to water vapor, and as a result it just moves out through the stomatal pore once the water droplet turns into water vapor. Now this can be also thought of in a simple way. If you put a single drop of water in over your palm and let it dry, it will take longer time to dry up, but if you try to evenly distribute it over your entire palm and fingers, then it will just dry up with. So this is only possible because the surface area is increasing and the thin layer of water is distributed over your palm, and as a result the body heat as well as the outer atmospheric temperature is helping in converting the water which was a droplet, now into a thin film, and then into water vapor. So water vapor will diffuse off very quickly. Next is aroma of flowers. In order to attract the pollinators, the flowers have presence of very beautiful smell. This smell is like a perfume, and it can be distributed throughout the area over where the flowers are present, and the pollinators can smell it and go near them. And another example can be, if you are present in a particular room and you switch on the fan and spray the deodorant over the fan, you will see that the even distribution of the aroma of that perfume is taking place, or that deodorant is taking place inside the entire room. That process is known as diffusion of substances inside aerosols inside the atmosphere. During the passive salt uptake, the ions are absorbed from the by the process of diffusion. It means the generally when the salt is taken up by the you know roots of the plant, at that time it is passive transport which is occurring, and by that process only the movement of salt takes place inside the root. Generally there is no energy required at this process, so it is just normal diffusion which occurs, by which the salts can enter inside the root hair cells. The food which is prepared in the leaf needs to go to the site over where it can be stored as starch, as well as these there can be requirement of metabolic activity, and over there also there is requirement of energy, so glucose needs to be forwarded to that site over where there is requirement of energy, and for that process we require, or that process is known as translocation. This translocation also requires some amount of water, and with the help of water medium only the glucose can transfer or travel from the leaf to the site over where it is required. So these are some of the points regarding the process of diffusion.